IVM.
TFG Football is an IVM production, and you can also check out their other awesome shows like Geek Fruit with fellow and television geeks Tejas, Jishnu and Dinkar as they discuss the world of science fiction and nerd culture.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of TFG Indian Football Podcast, and we are joining you right after the ISL final, the ISL 2017-18 season finale between Bengaluru FC and Chennai FC took place. And of course, Kevin is joining me via phone call, and we have somebody else, a special guest, an old friend of the show who is joining us again, all the way from the scene of the crime, Bengaluru. It's FNI Unni. Hey man, good to see you again.
Nice to be back on the show.
So yeah, of course, we just had the ISL final in Bengaluru, and it seems like if you want to win the ISL final, you should never host it. Bengaluru FC started well, but it was just towards the middle of the game, Chennai FC just took over, and I must say, the TFG Tackles episode we did on Friday, leading up to the final, Kevin predicted this. Kevin said Bengaluru FC need to score 2 goals in the first half, otherwise they are in a lot of trouble. And it seems like the thing unfolded exactly as he thought it would. What was your thought behind making that comment, Kevin?
The main reason was Chennai FC in the entire season have been stronger in the second half. Whatever the scoreline is, I think they've been more calm in the second half, and they've created avenues to get in front of goal, and they've been clinical in front of goal. That's the reason I said the first half should have been belonging to Bengaluru FC. With the goals being cushioning them in the second half, because we know Bengaluru FC can defend, and they also those teams that they can do a lot with a few chances. But Chennai FC, over the longer period of time, what their strength has been to finish in the second half. I think that's been the key. 1 or 2 goals that they've got in the second half has always been the decider. So that was the feeling, because it's not going to be an home and away. It's just one match, and second half obviously it was going to be crucial. That's the reason I said Bengaluru needed that 2-goal cushion.
And it seemed like they were going to get it. They started within the first 10 minutes. Sunil Chetri, of course, always delivers on big occasion. He found the goal. And then just everything seemed to be falling apart. Only you were at the stadium. What went wrong, man?
It was pretty much a difficult night for Bengaluru FC, I think. One of the reasons I think that they struggled yesterday is because they had to shuffle their back line because Subhashis was unavailable. Also, a crucial factor was that probably Harmanjot Kabra was also missing out. Otherwise, some combinations with him would have been much better behind. But here, Roca had to play havoc here, and he probably did not have the best of the matches. And what I feel is like Chennai is a solid team. I mean, even the Indian players over there are very experienced, and they are also a very difficult setup to break down. You have Dhanpal Ganesh and Bikram Chet Singh, both very defensive minded players in the midfield who are pretty good at tackling and break up things. So all these things probably contributed to it. And I feel Chennai also had a better squad in terms of substitutes as well. They had Anirudh Thapa who could be brought in, and it was a real fresh pair of legs coming in. Whereas if you look at Bangalore substitutes, they are not total game changers kind of players. Perez came in because of Dimas' injury, and I think that also played a crucial role in the second half, the team not finding the balance. But Perez is a decent player, or at least from what I've seen of him in the AFC Cup, he seems to be pretty decent. But yesterday against Chennai's solid midfield, I don't think he had a chance. So pretty much these are the things I think really went against the team yesterday.
And it's been two matches against Chennai FC at home, and both of them have been losses for Bengaluru FC. It's becoming a juju.
It's something like the Bagan thing that was there earlier before Roka took on.
Yeah, but actually, I thought under Roka, Bengaluru had become most confident and a little bit more composed, and they were better prepared to deliver on big occasions. And
so I think there is a softer core for Bangalore FC, and some teams really exploit that, or rather I would say some players also kind of know that. If you remember, under Roka, this team went to East Bengal and led by 1-0, a goal I think Vinny scored. And then you had Mehtab Hussain constantly niggling Sunil Chetri and kind of turning, employing a psychological war kind of a thing, and upturning the whole result in favor of East Bengal. So I think pretty much after Ashley Westwood's exit, I think the team is probably a bit soft, I guess. You wouldn't see that complete aggression and whatever, or the will to, overturn a difficult situation kind of a feeling for the team. You don't see that in Roka's tenure. I know that, he has done good work on, how the team plays, how the team approaches the matches. In terms of the style in which it is being played and things like that. But I think there is certainly a small area which is a little bit soft core, which a lot of teams kind of, if they are aware of it, they can exploit this, what I feel.
Kevin, so what's happening? Is what Unni is saying is true. The feared Bengaluru FC are becoming a familiar foe now. Everybody's researched them to death and knows their weak points. Does Bengaluru FC need to reinvent themselves now?
I don't know. Just see the starting 11, the formation that Roka went with. 3 at the back line. How many times have we seen in the league that Roka has played 3 and with a new combination? Eric Parthalu, we are not used to seeing him playing at the back. He was playing last man. So for me, the first impression when I did look at that was this required or was this tried out? So there itself was some glitch I felt was in the final. You don't want to get that strategy which is not tried beforehand. Either you have to be very confident or you have to have a backup plan if it doesn't click right away. But the plan for Bengaluru was the pace that they injected at the start was to get in early goals. That being said, I think they got in what they wanted to. Half was done. The goal came in from Sunil Chetri, Udanta crosses in, and just after that, 7 minutes was all it took for Chennai to equalize. But how did they come in? It was through set pieces and it was through headers. Now, what does it say about man marking? Was it something missing in the back line? Was it because of the three different back line that Roka went with? Was it something that they had not worked on? So there itself for me it was a problem. I don't know, because somewhere I felt Chennai allowed Bengaluru to come at them in the first half, and Bengaluru weren't able to complete those chances that they wanted to, and that was the advantage that they had at halftime. That goal came in, and probably that start itself, the three at the back, is something that hurt Roka. I don't know what do you feel that is something that you want to try at the last game of the season, or something that Roka was there was a different idea behind playing 3 at the back?
So I think the point was to really put emphasis on the midfield and the attack, and use the defense as also a tool to build those attacks, and that's what sort of came back to bite them, because once the tide of the game is turning, I don't think Roka had enough battery in his bench to really turn that around. it sort of went wrong on that day. It was a occasion that they could not rise up to. Only, do you really think that this is a moment of introspection and what Kevin said?
So I think he was pretty much forced into it because, as I said, Subhasish and this guy was not available. And also bringing Eric Patalu into the defensive position kind of destabilized that midfield where Lenny also didn't impress. So I feel, yes, certainly they will have a hard look at what they can do and how they can improve upon this season. I think they will bring in some new players, and I think they still have the AFC Cup campaign to look forward to. So I think the team is going to build upon this and come back strong, is what I feel.
Yeah, and they also have the Super Cup coming up, and there's a good chance, I would say, they will meet Chennai FC again. Chennai FC, of course, second in the table, sort of got boosted by this win, and they will go all out to make it a double. We haven't seen a League Cup double in Indian football for the longest time now. I don't even remember who did it last. Probably Dempo. It's interesting. Does it look like Chennai FC have that capacity now? Because they proved themselves that, especially when they're in a playoff situation, they know how to make use of a certain game and just win the night.
For me, Chennai FC are the master of rotation. John Gregory is to be credited to that. Now he has made the best out of rotation, and we did see results being delivered even after you get in a player who's not been regular. But that combination of his instincts of getting in a player in a position who's not really been seen too often, and yet deliver the same kind of style that he is expecting from his players was somewhere leading up to the final, and that was the coach's strength is. If you are able to find out what is your best working combination, he can just go all out and keep trying it, and that's the reason we saw more or less you had the core of the Chennai being played for most of the time, and there was just one or two changes. Obviously, it was more of giving the rest to the players rather than trying too many different vague options. So Chennai FC do have a versatile side, and I think we can go ahead and get in the double this season as well.
Yeah, so only all season it's been BFC that's been the side to beat. Total domination in the league stage, 40 points, 8 points. I don't think if you're going to talk about the whole season, this has been the easiest season for Bengaluru FC so far, like most dominant. But suddenly after losing to Chennai FC twice, is Chennai FC now the team to beat?
So I think this season they are definitely one of the teams to beat. So basically, as Kevin was mentioning, they have a good squad. They've been rotating. They've been nicking those wins. It might not be like the prettiest football around, but there seems to be a very effective unit. And I think definitely they are one among the teams to beat. I also think Pune and Goa are also pretty good. But I think certainly in terms of maturity level and gameplay, I guess Chennai is definitely one team to look out for and beat this season.
But talking about the season, of course it's been. I'm gonna slowly come over to Gurpreet Singh's and those comments. We won the league season. We won the league stage, so we are the champions. Now, I have been saying this since 2014 that I thought Chennai FC won the 2014 season, FC Goa won the 2015 season, Mumbai City won the 2016, and this I totally called Bengaluru FC were going to finish at the top of the table. I don't really care what happened in the playoffs. They won the league by miles. I haven't seen this kind of dominant performance in the league in a long time in Indian football, since Dempo actually. So I think there should be comparison between that Dempo team and this BFC team now in terms of how dominant they are. but you have this conflicting schools of thought. You have one part of Indian football fans saying playoffs make the league more interesting. It keeps them more competitive.
Yeah.
It keeps you hooked till the last moment, and just keeps the competition alive. Otherwise, it was over like 3-4 weeks ago. And then you have the purists who say if it's a league, if Indian Super League calls itself a league, then why doesn't it be a league? Why do you need a semi-final and final, which completely goes against the ethos of a league? So where do you fall on this, FNI?
So I've been like pretty vocal about that. I mean, like I think, what we have seen and grown up with is like leagues where teams play each other and accrue points, and then the team which is most consistent gets awarded, or rather to whoever comes on top, and that will be the most consistent team as well. So that's what I think, and I would like to see such a thing happening. But I guess the thought process, as a lot of people are emphasizing, is like, I think it's a chance for the league organizers to kind of drum up for the last 4 matches, and probably take that whatever interest to a crescendo and leave it at there by doing a final. I mean, I can understand probably the commercial aspects of it, but somehow I'm not a big fan of it. And I think it will be very nice if it goes back to format where there is no playoffs and semi-final. I mean, playoffs or semi-finals and finals, but I don't see that happening any soon.
Kevin, where are you on this?
No, that's really it's commercial value, nothing else. It doesn't really matter because there's no relegation here and there's no promotion as well. It's a closed end league where even the top end and the bottom end are not affected. Now, if you're looking at the top, you also have to look at the bottom. There's no relegation here. So what is, if you're creating a fight, you're creating a competition, something to look forward to, that the champions are decided after the league is done. I think it should be decided which is the lowest ranked team as well. You just shouldn't be blaming just because the team finished last in the league, that was the worst team of all. You should have a relegation playoff as well. That is what I feel, but it's all commercial at the moment. So you really look at the best performing team, and you'll not even look that there's something to lose as well.
And probably then ISL should change its name to ISP, Indian Super Playoffs, because in the end that's what matters. The league really doesn't matter at this point because anyway, ATK won it by penalties. What else do I need to say? Finished 4th out of 8, and they were called the champions. So yeah, that was one thing, one controversy that erupted out of it. The other is one of refereeing. This has been dogging us throughout the season, and even Parth Jindal took to Twitter afterwards, said Udanta's goal was not offside and we were denied a penalty. Now I will take you back to the away leg semi-final in AFC Cup that Bengaluru FC played. And of course, it was a similar situation where they were being outplayed. Now, Chennai FC outplayed Bengaluru FC, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But in that game also, Bengaluru were denied a penalty. And if a game like this, you are denied a penalty or a clear goal gets called off by a wrong offside call, yeah, those moments change the game. And you are, it's justified if you feel cheated. So, is it right? Is it justified? I don't even know. I don't want to shit on Chennai FC because they have won. They really played better on Saturday night. But this leaves a big question mark. Or what could have been, or how we should look at a win, or how we should look at the legitimacy of somebody being called a champion, right? I mean, it's shitty for them also to be in that situation, right, FNI?
Yes. So what I feel about refereeing is we probably will have to live with this. So our referees, I think, are probably a bunch of people who have not had this kind of exposure and this kind of match experience and things like that. So it is pretty obvious that when they are thrust into this, ISL stage, with not much of preparation or not much of match experience behind them, this is bound to happen, and we saw that happening the whole season. But the only thing I think we can do at this point of time is to live with it, because if our referees have to improve, I think they have to have these experiences, this match experience, and they will only gain out of it. They'll only become better out of it. So, but again, yes, I can understand past generals, viewpoint, because but football is all about that as well, right? I mean, if war is coming in, but we have seen these kind of things happening in football, in a lot of other leagues as well. It's like on that day, what happens is like what matters in football. And we've seen offside decisions correctly given, wrongly given. It has happened in almost all the leagues, but that's how football is. So I think you pretty much will have to live with it. And on the referees, I think earlier I also used to feel that, like how bad the refereeing is. And when you objectively look at it, they too need to have these experience. Then only they will develop as well. So we'll have to live with it. If that, if AFF wants to have Indian referees, and I think it's a positive move as well to use them, even though they are getting a lot of slack. It had to happen sometime, and it's better that it has started happening, and I hope it will continue, and I hope AFF helps these referees to gain some experience, probably do some workshops, all these kind of things, which will only help them. I think there was some report that came which said that they're planning to send referees as well abroad for some training or something. So I think it's a positive move. We will see this. The standard will go up in the coming years, I'm sure, but I think we have to live with it. And for the ecosystem also, it is very important that these referees are given a chance. Otherwise, we wouldn't see more referees coming if they don't have enough opportunities. That's what I think about it.
But then again, it just giving the exposure has to be in a structured approach. I think the main problem was, they were just thrown into the Shark Tank too soon. Suddenly
That's correct.
Yeah, just suddenly, like, they used to have to officiate for 10 teams, one league with like 8 or 10 teams at a time. Now you have 2 leagues going on simultaneously, just double the number of teams. And the referees did not, we did not double the number of our referees since last season. Like, they're just not born out of thin air. And you have a situation where less experienced referees are being exposed to these situations too soon. But one thing I will disagree with: if it's a final, if it's a major league game or whatever it is, it's not fair to the players, to the fans, to the coaches, whoever is, the people watching on TV. It's not fair to have a game being affected this much by a wrong call, and we've seen this too much in I-League, in ISL, everywhere we've seen this happening. At some point, it became routine, and it's just not fair to anybody if a wrong decision affects.
But Kiranji, doesn't it become all right if we see these decisions over time being? Consider it as a league rather than playoff. What if we just look at as a league, looking at the decisions that are, it's all average. You have decisions against your club in one game, and it's the other way around in another game.
In a league that evens out. Yeah. In a league that evens out. But this is a final.
Yeah, it evens out.
But in a final, it's
the only problem. Yeah. You have one wrong decision, and it's highlighted. You will not look at the missed chances. You will always, have that at the top of your. It's decorated and it's held out on top of your head, showing that this is the reason we lost the league. This is the reason the final was against us. So I think if it was a league, if we just look at it over the 95 or 90 matches that we play out, I think then it evens out. You don't have the problem of singling out a referee decision for a turnover of a match.
Yeah, but we don't have that situation. We have a final. Like, it's just one match. Whatever happens that night, it erases out everything that you have done before. Like, all the 8 points behind Bengaluru FC, which is NFC. Doesn't matter. They won, and they're now the ISL champions. The trophy is with them, not with BFC. And the bigger impact of this is that now they will be playing in AFC Cup. Now, do I think it's a bad team? Chennai FC are a really good team. I think they will do really well in AFC Cup. But Bengaluru FC were, I think, more deserving of that spot simply because they have been more consistent performers. But no Asian gameplay for BFC next season. So FNI has
Just a thought. What if Bengaluru FC had decided to stay in the I League? What dominance would have been seen?
FNI, I was just about to ask you, has moving to ISL come back to bite Bengaluru FC?
No, I mean, see, I think they very well knew that they had to win the competition for an AFC spot. And I think they played for that. And it didn't work out in favor. So I guess as a team and the management will probably be not very unhappy about the situation. I mean, because they knew it. They are, of course, I guess, Path General tweeting about the refereeing. They're it's a bit difficult for them to accept, I guess, because they've been winning something or the other every season, and they've been going to AFC matches every season. So I think it'll be something that'll be a bit difficult to accept, but I think such is football, so you'll have to live with it.
Yeah, it has to happen. Right now we're of course going through that transition phase, and hopefully things will settle down. We will have a unified league, and please no more playoffs. It's just ridiculous at some point. Just compare that to the I-League title race. That thing was tense for 1.5 months. For 1.5 months, you had 4 clubs playing every match on a knockout basis, and it was such a tense affair. Just leading up, then somebody was making a mistake, somebody else was making a mistake. Things just reached to this wonderful crescendo where you didn't need a playoff. Imagine if there was a playoff in I-League. It would not have been half as exciting. This kind of finish that I-League got, 4 clubs fighting for the title on the last day simultaneously. Do you get this anywhere? It doesn't happen if you have a playoff. The whole thing just plays out in a different way. I don't know. Is it possible that ISL will sort of take a lesson from the best leagues around the world and abolish playoffs, or are they worried that Bengaluru FC are so much better in the league season it's not even a challenge? FNI?
So I think this format is not going to change any soon. I think they're going to continue it for a while at least. So someone just pointed out on Twitter that, when the number of teams are very less, probably a league system wouldn't be an ideal way to judge the performance in a typical league kind of a thing. That's a valid point, I think. In that sense, probably teams have to play 3 matches. So there are apparently leagues in the world that employ that, they play 3 times. And so that's an argument. So it'll be nice if it was a league which has 14 to 15 teams or something like that. 16 teams or something like that. Right now, I think the onus for ISL is also have a very short season, make it as attractive and as entertaining for fans. And as I said before, if they have these 4 matches, 4 plus 1, 5 matches, that is the 4 semi-finals, and so that's an opportunity for them to drum up that occasion, their home and away things. So on a commercial perspective, I guess it is going to be like that for some more seasons before we see some actual change.
Yeah, or just merge ISL and I-League, then you have 20 clubs and you don't have to worry about it. It's exciting throughout.
You really think we're going to have it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We're not that lucky. Where things just are not going to fall into our laps. But I think this sort of gives you a pause for thought. But how much more important does this make, Kevin? They are still in AFC Cup. They're alive in AFC Cup. They're going to play in the group stages. They won the first match. Now the only way Bengaluru FC can have Asian football, I'm saying this for Bengaluru FC because they take pride in playing in Asia. If they win the AFC Cup, they get to play AFC Cup next season. What do you think is going to happen, Kevin? They're going to go out and do it?
I think Bengaluru FC is going to win the AFC Cup this time.
Okay.
Because
beat Al Jawiya and all those.
Yeah. I think I have a valid reason for that because their focus has always been in the AFC Cup, not the AFC Champions League. That's the only reason for one of the reasons was that they moved to the ISL with the condition that they want to play in the AFC Cup, and I think till that was assured to them, they didn't want to take that plunge. And only when the guarantee came that the AFC Cup was handed to the ISL winner, that is when they wanted to take that one, the complete move from one league to the other. So they never really wanted to, get in that AFC Champions League. Or having said that, I don't have any backup saying why BFC going to win the AFC Cup, but I think they have a clear focus, and a team with clear focus, a club with a vision is the one that does always the best. And I think at the moment in India there is no other club that has got a better vision than Bengaluru FC. Yeah,
so we have a very thrilling conclusion, of course. I mean, say what you will about how things panned out. The game was alive till the very last moment. Bengaluru FC did not let go. Even in the added time, they scored a goal. Things could have been like if just one goal happens here or there, just things can go in a very different direction.
Over 47% of online users in India have experienced harassment at some point. So if it's two of us inside this recording studio, chances are pretty high that one of us has faced abuse at some point. How do we tackle this? What do we need to do better? Come, let's learn together. Join me on Akanksha Against Harassment at IVM Podcasts every Thursday. Let's learn how to make online a safe place together.
Vinay, since we have you here, the Super Cup is also happening.
Yeah.
And you saw the qualifiers.
Yes.
And hard-fought games. I think 3 out of 4 were really hard-fought. Is it satisfactory to see teams like Indian Arrows, Churchill Brothers go out there and put up such good fights? And Gokulam Kerala FC is gonna go into the main competition.
I mean, I think certainly I feel I-League teams have gone to the Super Cup with much more desire than the ISL teams. But that's not an excuse, what I feel, because if you look at the Churchill versus Delhi Dynamo's match, you could see that, the talent at Delhi's disposal was really good. Whereas if you compare the Indian contingent between two sides, you can see the difference what Churchill has and what Delhi had in their team. So I think Churchill had that drive to get that result. They played as if they wanted to prove a point at types. But Delhi again, I guess, pretty slick, neat, cute football, but no goals kind of a situation. So I feel it's a nice platform, but it has to be rewarded with something like an AFC slot or something like that. Otherwise, teams are not going to take it very seriously, just as how it is happening right now. And many of them keep complaining about the schedule and things like that. So I think AIFF will have to be a little more innovative in incorporating such a cup tournament. So otherwise, it's just gonna be like every year. Probably some teams are not like really interested in it. They will feel their second string players because there is nothing at stake, and it will not have that importance. So probably AFF needs to think about how they can revamp or fit in this whole thing and make it more rewarding. So that teams take it seriously.
But talk about having I-League clubs having sort of more interest in the competition. The I-League champions Minerva Punjab first sort of said they're not going to play. Ranjit Bajaj explicitly said paisa nahi hai, nahi khelega. And then I think he got some assurance that some money, maybe some of the prize money will be provided to Minerva Punjab, and now he says he's gonna play. Kevin, we were doing the TFG Tackle show, and we thought that it was still the news that Minerva Punjab were not gonna play. You said something might happen, and they might play. What made you say that?
Just looking at how Minerva Punjab and Ranjit Bajaj have been going on Twitter, I think they just made it a sympathy gain from everybody that they are lacking in some way or the other, and when the attention is drawn to them, we do know at the back of our mind that they will go ahead. It's just what do you call that? I'm not getting the phrase at the moment. But it's the sympathy that you're getting from everybody makes you get all the attention, and then actually you just go ahead and do whatever you had intended to do, just a little attention grabbing for whatever reasons. But it wouldn't be right on a champion's path that you're not entering a competition, which it looks like a very good teaser to have. I-League versus ISL. It sounds so good. It's glorified already, although we've not seen any official ads to that. But yeah, it's there. ISL was I-League for the very first time, and Minerva Punjab, if they had missed out, I think it would be a big shame for everybody. Everyone would be looking up to how they would perform to different sets of leagues, different sets of players going against each other for the very first time. So yeah, that's the reason I felt it was eventually going to happen that Minerva Punjab would step in and take part. Just momentarily attention grabbing.
Attention grabbing, cash grabbing, a lot of vying for the fans' sympathy is going on. Unni, we have a Super Cup happening in Bhubaneswar, and part of the reason why some players and clubs are wary of the tournament is because of the weather. It's humid, hot, not good for football. It just should not really even happen. It's a prime example. Like, I'm pretty sure when in the under-20 World Cup bidding was happening, who got it, by the way? Some country got it. Poland got it. I'm pretty sure somebody pulled up Hotstar and said, watch this. It's happening in India right now. It's happening in March. You wanna do something in June in India? So yeah, is this? Is this viable? Doing a tournament like this, does this in the end do any good to the players, to the teams, to Indian football, whatever?
So what I feel is, as I just said earlier, AIFF will have to think a little bit. We'll have to be a bit innovative in holding this. Because otherwise, if it's just going to continue like the way it is, I think it will soon lose the relevance, and it will not be of any use, and the teams are not going to take it seriously. So what I feel is that if the teams are not allowed, or if they do not have any impetus to win this thing, I think they're not going to take it seriously. And if that is the case, it is going to be irrelevant soon. So they'll have to,
So, you have a situation with Bengaluru FC and ISL FC. I think both of them will have this problem of going and playing a match in Super Cup, then running back and playing in AFC Cup. Then if they win, they'll have to go back again and play Super Cup. And each of them is like, one is literally knockout, the other is in a group stage. So you have to treat it like a knockout because only one team goes through from that group. Is this at this point? I mean, and we have a national team camp also happening in Mumbai now, and we have to go and play in Kyrgyzstan. So Kyrgyzstan, where it's like 3-4 degrees right now at night, in day it's like 9-10 degrees. From there you're gonna put them at 40 degrees. Like our players are literally going through the worst right now.
That's so true, I mean, like when matches are being scheduled in India, when AFF is scheduling matches, I think they have to be a little more, concerned about how players will play in these extreme conditions. And occasionally I've seen that happening in junior leagues as well, like because I kind of follow what happens in Kerala. I came to know that some matches were scheduled at 10 o'clock in the morning and something at 2 in the afternoon. And that too, I heard one of them was, one of the venue was an artificial turf, and it's going to be like really hot when you play on a turf from there. So these are finer details, I guess, which the federation has to chalk out. I mean, like the kind of persons who are like putting the fixtures, they need to know what are the local climate situations. They need to find out, at least check on the web and find out, or just call up somebody in the state association and find out how it is to play football at 10 o'clock in the hot and humid Kochi on a turf. So they should probably do that. I mean, and that diligence is not happening, and I think it is going to take some time for us to see all these things to fall in place.
Yeah, Kevin, do you think, I mean, I'm not going to ask you this to FNI because he might have some bias here, but Bengaluru weather is like cool and all that, but Chennai ka weather is a little bit more on the hot and humid side, which is closer to what we're going to get at Bhubaneswar. So does that sort of amount to a, tangible advantage for Chennai FC over Bengaluru?
No, since when has the weather been advantage or disadvantage to one of the team? So that's difficult to call. But it's that day. Sometimes it does belong to you. One or two mistakes from your side, one or two chances that you miss out. It's that's going to be the decider, not really the weather factor.
So we have
If the weather is going to help or play a part, I guess I-League teams are going to run away with the title, Super Cup title, because they have been playing all this season at 2 o'clock and they're like, okay, we've done this before, get this done, that's all.
Yeah, that's probably true. So we are looking at, of course, before we wrap up the show, India national team is gonna go to the place which is exactly opposite of what Bhubaneswar is right now, and they're gonna play Kyrgyzstan, last remaining Asian Cup qualifier, and if we win, we get into the pot 2. So that's the question is like, okay, we're gonna go into the pot 2, and that means like 2 lower ranked teams will be in the same group. That's you can argue that's more advantage for us, but seeing that we have North Korea, Qatar, different teams like that below us, does it really translate into a real life advantage that we are in the pot 2?
So I think I mean Asian Cup. I'm not really thinking about Asian Cup right now because I don't think we have a great chance, and I mean it's some smart planning to get some good teams. I think it is pretty good to think and plan like that. But on the ground, are we gain anything or get any positive result from doing that? I have no idea because I don't think it's going to be like a miracle, I guess, for us to probably win a match or draw other is what I still feel, even if we get into an EC grouping or whatever it is. So I'm not really thinking about that. I think even going in Kyrgyzstan and winning that last match is going to be quite tricky, is what I feel. I mean, it won't be very easy as what we probably think it is. Most of these ex-Soviet nations are pretty decent in their football, and I think the team and the coach will be cognizant of that fact when they're going there.
Yeah, we are gonna face some real tough challenges, especially if we are going from Bhubaneswar to over there. But Kevin, so it's a question of taking it's a question of the glass half full or half empty. If you have yourself in the pot 3, you're gonna have 2 higher ranked teams which are no doubt better than you in your group. If you are in the pot 2, you're going to have 2 lower ranked teams in your group, and some of them may be better than you still because, some of them have really bad ranking manipulation. AIFF have been outdoing a lot of others in that department over the last 2 years. So what is better? Should we care about that? Is it okay, let's take the glass half full approach and try to do that? Or is it a matter of, okay, let's go and try new players and see them exposed to a tough situation. Doesn't matter if we lose.
Even if you consider that we are in pot 2, say hypothetically we have 2 lower ranked teams in our group, will that really be an advantage? I really doubt, because Kyrgyzstan also is not ready.
Is below us.
He's again below us. They came here and they put us into a situation where we really had to scramble. The defense was put to the test in the first 20 minutes, and the way they played here, you can just get a glimpse of what we are going towards Kyrgyz Republic for. So that is, no matter whether we are in pot 2, 3, it's going to be a tough task. Now, beginning with this game at Kyrgyz Republic, just as Uni says, just let us focus on this, because it's been a long time we've seen national side play, and the big minus over here for India is we've not played a friendly game. I think that leaves us at a big disadvantage. That all the group stage matches we played at least a game prior to playing the group match. So it left us with a slightly better preparation, but this is a tough situation to be in. So even if it does not mean too much, because we've already qualified, it again is a challenge to face Kyrgyz Republic at home in such extreme weather. It's going to be a tough ask from us.
Yeah, and Kyrgyz Republic will be in match practice. They will be playing Myanmar on the 22nd. And I think it will be on a neutral venue because there were some threats against Myanmar over the Rohingya issue. So they're going to play a game about 4-5 days beforehand. And India, although I think they are in a position to start a camp now, they're not going to be playing a preparatory friendly or anything, which I think reeks of somebody out there thinking, okay, let's get into the pot 2, because if we play a friendly, that possible ranking point equation might get disturbed. FNI, good move?
Yeah, so I think they're trying all their best to crack this FIFA ranking methodology, and they're trying to land a better tie, which I think is still not going to help them. Even if they do that, I mean, because at this point in time, I'm not so positive about it. But yeah, I think pretty much what you just said will be the thought process that is going on over there, telling that, okay, let's not play many games because it might negatively affect our ranking, and let's go there and try be there in pot 2 and find out what is coming, and probably, I think then probably they can think of playing some matches. I think they should before going to Asia Cup at least.
Yeah, Championship is coming up. Maybe we'll have a Champions Cup. We'll see how that that turns out. So it's a mixed bag. We have just had I-League and ISL season concluded. We still have Super Cup to look forward to. AFC Cup in full swing. We have the Asian Cup qualifier and all other kinds of matches leading up to what is in the World Cup, which we will be bringing you the coverage of. So stay tuned to the podcast, to the fangarage.com. Before we conclude the show, finally, 2 or 3 takeaways from the season from you, FNI.
From this whole season, I mean, like, I-League has been pretty interesting. Like, I got to watch a lot of matches. So, I mean, in a sense, thanks to Star Sports for bringing almost all the matches. Some of them they did deferred live, but still, a lot of it was on TV, and I think a lot of people generally would have tuned to I-League as well. So that was a good thing that happened. Then I think now we are getting to see that players are getting tied down for longer deals with the clubs, which is also kind of a positive development, I feel. Then in general, I guess with these transfers to China and all happening, I think there is an increased attention on the league as well. But I hope it will completely shed the image of older players coming and playing here in the future. So I think generally football looks to be on an upward swing, and I see that a lot of interest in the peripheries as well. I mean, like, if you see Kerala, one place which I closely follow, there is an upswing in terms of interest and things like that. So generally, I think people are looking back. They are turning their eyes back to Indian football, which is pretty good. And also, as I said before, like Star being there to telecast I-League has actually gotten it a much wider audience, is what I feel. So these are all like kind of the positives that I see.
And the positives for Bengaluru FC, are there any?
It was unfortunate that they lost in the final. So, but generally, I think the transition to ISL has not been a very difficult thing, unlike what a lot of people predicted or expected, that they are going to struggle kind of situation, which did not happen. So on the whole, I am sure that the team is pretty happy on what they have achieved, and the style of play, as I mentioned earlier. So you can see that there's a total difference in the way the BFC plays as a team now. It's a much better brand of football and stuff like that. So I hope they will continue to improve, and I guess they will also try to fix that whatever soft core that I was talking about, which other teams and players exploit. So yeah, pretty much that's what I think about their season.
Yeah, Kevin, season takeaways from you.
Season takeaways, I think only his point of having been able to see I-League matches or even all matches on TV, Hotstar, streaming. I think that is a very plus point because when you show things on television or whatever medium that people can have access to freely, is when you can attract more commercial value. You can attract more even player employment also comes in. When you don't know about something, it's difficult to do anything for the promotion of that thing. So I think in that way Minerva have done excellent because they've roped in a lot of sponsorship. Just by that value, that things are being shown on TV. It's much better than last season where not many. There was some amount of matches that were not telecast, and this season we've got to see 90 plus 95 matches right on TV. That's very positive for aspect to look into, because down the line this will come into the picture when you have the merger. What is the best of both worlds? You have what's good in the I-League, what's good in the ISL. That is when you have merger of thoughts, merger of values commercially, player engagement, player TRPs or whatever. Second point is obviously it's connected to when you have simultaneous leagues running, you have more players being involved, you have more clubs being involved, you have more coaches being involved. Obviously, I will want to get that coaches aspect because it's all related to the sport. So when you show something on TV, you want to grab eyeballs by employment in a way. Everything comes down to employment. If you not, everybody wants money in the end. Players, clubs, get revenues everywhere. Even the telecast broadcasters, everybody requires that finances in the end. So this was a very positive aspect, very positive season. From overall looking at what you can gain from this season. So yes, again, take away from Puneet's point and add on to employment is what was the highlight of this season.
Exactly. For me, I was gonna highlight the Indian players that have come out to the forefront, just because there are more clubs and more opportunities in I-League and ISL. That if there's any any positive to take away from this crazy split, busy, dense season with two leagues running and simultaneously, it is, I think, having more new players. I predicted at the start of the season that 10 players who are playing in I-League in 2017-18 will go on to represent be in the Asian Cup squad come 2019. I think we are sort of have gotten started on the way. I think at least 20-30 really great players, not 20-30, I'm saying 50 really good players out of I-League will go into ISL next time, and we will see where things go from there. So all of that has been happening. It's just been, at some point I have to agree with FNI that it's all birthing pains. All the problems that we go through, 2 p.m. matches, refereeing mistakes, all these flawed formats of a tournament, playoffs or whatever it is. It's all birthing pains leading up to this, massive rebirth of Indian football, I would say, where we will have a unified league one day, and please, no playoffs. Thank you, FNI, for joining us on this episode. We would really like to have you back again soon, Kevin as well. And thank you everybody for listening. It's been a long show, but we will be back on Monday with a special broadcast, because one of the podcasters might be joining in from Kyrgyzstan. You never know, bringing you updates from the field about what's going on with the Kyrgyzstan versus India match. And if you like this podcast, you should also download the IVM Podcasts app, which brings you the best Indian podcasts, and you can also check them out on ivmpodcast.com. If you're listening to this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment on how you like or hate some of the things we said on the podcast. We can take it, bring it on. And follow FNI. If you're not following FNI on Twitter, I don't know what the hell you're doing, because it's really the best account in Indian football, @FNI Football News India. And you have to get him on
@Football News India on Facebook. Thanks, Chiranjit, for calling me on the podcast, and it was, as always, nice to discuss football with you people.
Yeah, I think it's a long show, but it's worth it if you want to really understand what all have we gone through, and in the end it's all good. It's all positive.
Yeah,
Kevin, nice talking to you, man.
Yeah, it's not really been easy for us to just follow the whole thing, and we're not living in simple times, is what we're gonna say. So follow Kevin, which is Boza _Kevin,
And me on Twitter @Chiranjit Oja. I was on a hiatus from Twitter, kind of forced, but I really liked it. But I think the crescendo around ISL final has reached fever pitch, so I thought I should reactivate my Twitter account. So I'm back on it. Come back to us on Monday, but there will be a episode of TFG Tackles, episode number 5, which will come out on Friday, so tune into that as well. Thank you.
There she stands, a podcast addict, outside the bank, having travelled several miles to get in with other poor souls like her. The journey, though daunting for this youngling, will have some comfort because she has downloaded her favourite podcast. You can see more of her species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.